The world is hers, so why did her world tour go so wrong? Every year since 2014, the incredibly popular and one-of-a-kind performance of Hatsune Miku and her friends travel to different parts of the world in an event called MIKU EXPO, giving the opportunity for everyone around the Earth to see Mugu. However, since the pandemic in 2020, in-person concerts were cancelled and Miku couldn't travel for 3 years. That was until it was announced in 2024 she would make a comeback in what would be one of the biggest expos in its life. But this came at a cost, one bigger than anyone expected. From mishandled merch to big screen scandal, setlist sorrow and potential lawsuit lethargy, many Miku fans left the concert with a bitter taste in their mouths. But also, many didn't. So, was it the worst Miku concert ever? Well, I went to find out. That's right, I went all of a 5-hour train drive to see what all the fuss was about. And what I found there will shock you. If you expected me to trash it completely, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. What I am gonna do is tell you a brief history of MIKU EXPO so you know where we're coming from. Then I'll go into depth about the controversy of the first part of this year's MIKU EXPO in North America. After that, I'll share my own experience of the European leg of the show, specifically in London, then talk about everything that came after, where we will come to our own conclusion as to whether MIKU EXPO 2024 was a failure that should never happen again, or maybe something a bit more positive. Consider this a sort of summary of all things MIKU EXPO, a MIKU expose if you will. If you're curious as to what it was actually like from someone who attended and is chronically online enough to keep tabs of most things that went down, or if you went yourself and wanted a little time capsule for that one time VSynth Twitter was really upset with Crunchyroll, this video's for you. So press the like button and get ready, because this is going to be a long one. Sorry, I had to change out of that outfit. I hope you enjoyed my knockoff Miku jacket that I bought when I was like 18. At first, there was nothing. And then there was Miku. So, I'm gonna start this video by assuming that you know who Miku is, who Krypton is vaguely, and generally the whole Vocaloid biz as a whole. At the very least, I'm gonna run with the assumption you know that Hatsune Miku is a Vocaloid singer. World is mine and all that. Ever since there have been Vocaloids, there have been concerts featuring Vocaloids, and this is the case for Miku. Miku's first stage appearance was at Animalo's Summer Live in 2009. Her Vocaloid 2 voice bank was barely 2 years old at the time. She was projected onto the back wall, making her appear massive compared to the life-size holograms we have today, and performed 2 songs. Since then, there's been at least one official Miku concert a year, as well as countless other unofficial ones, but a lot of these concerts rarely left Japan. The first instance of an official concert outside of Asia would be Mikunopolis in Los Angeles. This was held in, you guessed it, Los Angeles, on July 2nd, 2011. Alongside this, Miku also guest appeared at Anime Expo a few days before. It wasn't just Miku at this concert either. The Kagamines and Luca were also there, singing absolute voco boomer bangers like Butterfly on Your Right Shoulder, Meltdown, World's End Dance Hall, and a ton of others. Honestly, the setlist for this show was peak. I really wish I knew all about it and went, if only I wasn't on the other side of the world and also was like 12. No Kaito or Meiko, but in their defense, both were about 6 years old at the time and looked like this. It wouldn't be for another 2 or 3 years that we would get their V3 upgrades that we all know and love. But aside from this one event in LA, there wasn't much for Vocaloid fans outside of Japan, and definitely outside of Asia. To answer the cries of starving Voco boomers, I just love saying that word, MIKU EXPO was born. MIKU EXPO is an official annual concert tour that aims to bring what one would expect at a Miku concert in Japan, say a magical Mirai, to countries that wouldn't normally have one. These usually occur in stages, or legs, and cover either a country or a continent, going to a few cities over the span of a few weeks. The first MIKU EXPO was held in Indonesia on May 28, 2014, followed by a Los Angeles and New York mini tour in October that same year, performing 27 songs. The next year was smaller in scope, with 2 days in Shanghai on June 26th to 27th. You'll see this pattern with MIKU EXPO, where there'll be a multi-leg tour in one year, followed by a smaller event the next. Most people agree that it's probably a cost-saving measure. These concerts cost a lot of money, no matter how many people attend and buy merch, so alternating years of bigger and smaller events makes sense. So, following that trend, the Expo expanded in 2016, going to China, Taiwan, Japan, I guess they felt left out, and North America. That North American tour now included 10 performances in the USA, Mexico, and Canada, and was opened by a little-known New York band called Inarguably, coming off of their latest song, which wasn't even a month old at the time, MIKU. I found a Reddit thread from the time where people shared their thoughts about the concert, and a bunch of people were saying things like, I don't get why we had to watch Anamanaguchi first. I was there to see MIKU, not these random guys. Do you know how many I would kill to see Anamanaguchi open for MIKU? Reddit comment from 8 years ago? A lot of people! That's how many I would kill! The year after, in 2017, the Expo kept it small again with some performances in Malaysia, and the year after that was the first European and North America multi-leg tour. Well, not quite North America, just the USA and Mexico. Sorry, Canada. The Europe leg was in France, Germany, and England, with the London show completely selling out at the Olympia. MIKU Expo has really hit its stride by this point, so I think it would be good to give you a good idea of what you can expect at a MIKU Expo in 2018. First, you would enjoy the exposition part of the MIKU Expo, where statues and artwork would be on display, the merch stand would be open, and also you have the opportunity to paint a MIKU. That's right, get a plain white MIKU doll, some acrylic paints, and make your own MIKU OC. When you see the little MIKU doll touring the world on official MIKU Expo Twitter during a tour, that's one of these painted Mikus. After that will be the show itself, so grab yourself an official MIKU glow stick because they won't allow into the venue anything else, and have some fun with MIKU. Don't be surprised, you knew I was going to say that at some point. Bear in mind this was one of the bigger MIKU Expos. In the next few years they'll focus on performing in more countries than having this sort of con-like experience, but merch booths and painting a MIKU became iconic staples of every expo. In 2019, again, a smaller showing in Taiwan and Hong Kong, although apparently due to production issues, Pia Pro Color's wristband Mako version was suspended for sale for the entire expo. Bad day for Mako fans. All 7 of you must have been mortified. I'm kidding, I'm one of them. Mako, my beloved. But of course, when one small expo ends, an even bigger one arrives the next year. So, what did MIKU Expo have in store for us in the good year 2020? Yeah, that year. Well, Europe did indeed go ahead. In fact, my partner was able to attend in London on January the 11th. The Expo was able to do all 5 of its European concerts over January, but once March arrived and lockdown happened across the world, the MIKU Expo organisers announced that the USA and Canada leg of the Expo would be postponed, later cancelled. Sorry, Canada. Again. As you can imagine, this really knocked the Expo off its rhythm. It's assumed that the organisers already spent a lot of money on the USA and Canada leg before cancellation, and they had no way of getting that money back. Typically, you need to book venues a year in advance, and pay for them too, no matter if the show goes ahead or not. So many people understand that this turned what isn't really a moneymaker into a massive loss for the organisers. This, plus the ongoing pandemic, meant that for the next 3 years we would get MIKU Expo in the smaller form of 2 online live-streamed events. Very well-produced live-streamed events, mind, and the best with what they could do, but not what everyone was looking for. However, at the end of 2023, it would be announced that for MIKU Expo's 10th anniversary the next year, it would be going back to physical events, and this time with even more countries, even more cities, and travelling to an entirely new part of the world. Welcome to MIKU Expo 2024. On September the 12th, 2023, MIKU Expo 2024 was announced on the Crunchyroll website. Why on that site in particular? Well, as the announcement title says, this year's Expo is powered by Crunchyroll. You probably already know this, but Crunchyroll is a website for Westerners to stream anime, manga, and other East Asian media. It started in 2006, hosting fan-translated content of legal dubiousness, but moved quickly to legal distribution in 2008 to 2009. A whole bunch of other stuff happened until it was bought by Sony in 2021. This isn't a Crunchyroll video. I think it's safe to say a lot of people aren't big fans of Crunchyroll lately. Concerns have been raised about the monopolization of Western distribution of anime since Funimation's site was merged with Crunchyroll, meaning there really isn't anything stopping Crunchyroll from constantly raising their prices and switching to more predatory pricing strategies, since there's little competition for them to undercut. Couple this with alleged union busting, alleged mail theft, and worst of all, just an awful website to navigate and use. I swear the app and web experience of being constantly updated to deliberately be the worst experience possible. Needless to say, it didn't lead to a great reaction when people read the words "powered by Crunchyroll" tacked onto the end of an announcement of a Vocaloid tour. Something, may I add, that has little to do with anime and manga? I mean, it's East Asian culture, yeah, but I don't think people associate music concerts when they think of Crunchyroll. They think of anime. Or maybe that's just me. Actually, when I think of Crunchyroll, I think of how videos constantly stutter and flick back and forth into lower resolutions when other streaming services on my internet play perfectly fine for 4K. Or why did they just wipe off the face of the earth the comments section without telling anyone so that they could preserve their decades worth of comments? Why is the sub of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal not on there? Every other Yu-Gi-Oh! Has their sub and dub, why does Zexal just have the This video's long enough. Anyway, looking into what powered by Crunchyroll actually means, it seems that it's a reference to them being a co-sponsor for the expo, according to the Vocaloid wiki, alongside the usual Sega and Krypton Media. This also meant that for North American fans, if you were a Crunchyroll premium member, you could get tickets a whole 8 days early. But as I said earlier, this wasn't just North America, but also 6 locations in Europe and 5 stops in New Zealand and Australia, a part of the world that MIKU EXPO has never gone before, making this the biggest MIKU EXPO to date. General thoughts about the expo announcement were really positive, Crunchyroll aside, so everyone grabbed their tickets, ready to go. I've heard that most dates on the tour sold out up until the concert started, the 2 that didn't being Vancouver and Atlanta. Not sure if that's true, but if it is, then it's safe to say that North America was sufficiently hyped for the return of MIKU EXPO. And why wouldn't they be? They hadn't had one since 2018. Canada hadn't had one since 2016, and they were the first stop on the tour. Boston had their own date. They didn't need to travel all the way to New York City to watch it. Apparently that was a big thing. It made Circus P happy, so if Circus P's happy, I'm happy. So let's go! Grab your officially licensed glow stick, because again, they won't allow anything else, and have a blast! If I were to be assumptive, I would say, what could go wrong? 6 months after the announcement, the expo had begun. The first stop of the tour was Vancouver in Canada at the Thunderbird Arena. This concert wasn't sold out apparently, but it still almost filled the over 5,000 person capacity of the venue. Once people started entering the arena, anyone experienced with prior Vocaloid concerts felt that something seemed a little off. And once the show started, everyone realized why. Enter center stage, the LED screen. So, one of the major features of a Vocaloid concert, to many the reason they go to a digital performer concert in the first place, is to see the performer up on the stage performing as a hologram. Holograms, in this case, is a pretty general term meant for a stage effect where it looks like the performer is up on stage, acting out their performance. There's different ways to produce this effect. Any prog rock musical fans may be aware of the holograms in the tours of Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds, where a hologram of the narrator of the story appears at points on the stage, either in the air projected onto a physical head shape, or as Liam Neeson walking around all ghost-like on the floor. Yes, I have been able to sneak in me talking about The War of the Worlds in a Hatsune Miku video. This is how you know I wrote this script myself. It wasn't generated. In a typical Vocaloid concert, that ghost-like effect is used, where you can see the performer moving around in the middle of the stage. You can see the rest of the stage or other physical performers in front or behind the hologram. Take, for example, this performance of Conqueror by Sendra here, where the backing dancers seem to be performing next to Ia. This song is a banger, by the way. I highly recommend it. We don't fully know definitively how this effect is pulled off. I couldn't find any credited information, it's all behind lock and key and NDAs. But fans are confident that in most instances in concerts, holograms are pulled off by a utilization of the Pepper's ghost illusion. This is a really old special effect where the subject, in this case a screen with a Vocaloid on it, is reflected onto a plane of glass towards the audience. Black or dark colours don't come through, but bright colours bounce off the screen and into our eyeballs. You could even make a small version of this effect by yourself, with a box, a clear sheet of plastic, and your phone. Actual concerts probably have their own bespoke methods and approaches to project onto a life-size stage, but the fundamentals are probably the same. And this is how every Miku concert, including Miku Expo, has put the Pia Pro characters onto the stage. But no. Instead, we got a flat screen TV. Okay, they didn't wheel out onto the stage a normal TV. They weren't your geography teacher showing you a David Attenborough film. Instead, it was an LED screen, about 8 feet high, 14 feet wide, and stood in the middle of the stage, sometimes a little further back. Large enough that all the Pia Pro characters were life-size, but small enough where they couldn't move around too much left or right, or else they would be cut from the screen. Sometimes the screen would have little coloured rims around it, like in LA, or it would be on its own with this little blue bar depicting where the performer stood. I'll talk about my experience actually seeing it in real life later on, as they made some small changes in the European tour, but looking at the pictures that were taken by fans at the concerts, it looks pretty pathetic, not gonna lie. 8 feet by 14 feet is big. That's about a 200-inch screen if my estimations are correct, but compared to an entire concert stage, it's tiny. It's dwarfed by the frame and other pieces they've set up. All the backing musicians are positioned far away from the screen, trapped in this weird RGB cage. Like the organizers were terrified they would trip on a cable and turn the screen off. This strip of light at the back isn't helping either. It just shows off the fact there's a screen there and that it's small. As if to respond to the backlash, they put this little rim around the screen, perhaps to make it look a little more like a feature and less of an embarrassment, but all it does is show off how small that screen is even more. Needless to say, fans were in shock. Okay, maybe shock is a bit much, but they weren't happy. You can see from the posts on Twitter from Vancouver attendees that they were all incredibly disappointed, and everyone after now realized this is what they had paid for. The day after the first concert in Vancouver was the day general ticket sales started for Europe, meaning the organizers were banking on Europeans to see the buzz about the first show and would be convinced to pony up a few £100 to see it. But the only buzz there was a fuss. A scene about a screen. But it wasn't Krypton's first foray into a display. Okay, I'm done. OG Voco boomers will recall a time in 2011 where fans were left angered by a performance foregoing a hologram in favour of a screen. And that, of course, was at MIKU 2011, 13 years prior. This was a performance held on March 9th in Odaiba in Tokyo, where attendees were not told in advance that the expected use of a hologram was not going to be fulfilled. Instead, an LED screen was used instead. Pictures from the concert show that the screen was about the same size as the one in Miku Expo, but it's got these 2011 phone bevels to the sides, making it look really ugly. Videos of the show put it in a better light, but attendees were not happy at all with the surprise. In the end, one of the organizers of the event apologized the same day, and subsequent Mikupers and other Vocaloid concerts abstained from using the screen instead of a hologram, until this year, where the same thing happened all over again. But this time, with no apology. I swear the Western Vocaloid fandom went into the 7 stages of grief. At this point, we were in the bargaining phase, thinking maybe they weren't able to get the technology put together in time. Maybe because the show was recorded, they couldn't use a hologram, instead they had to use a screen. Well, whatever the reason was, maybe the rest of the expo won't have a screen? Right? 2 days later in Portland, the screen was still used in the performance. There wasn't going to be holograms for this expo. It was always going to be a screen. The fans were not happy. Being on Miku Twitter after the expo started was honestly so tragic. From people who went to the previous shows, had tickets to go, or weren't even going at all, everyone quickly turned from bargaining to anger real quick. Is that how the 7 stages of grief go? I can't remember. Just forget that I said that. We were angry. Ultimately, we wanted the organizers to apologize, to explain the situation themselves, and maybe promise not to do it again. But we didn't hear anything from the MIKU EXPO Twitter, nor from any other lines of communication for a very long time. This did not help the ever-increasing levels of anger, as you can expect. Kenneth Shepard made this great article about the backlash on the 8th of April for Kotaku. As Kenneth says, some ticket holders of future events decided not to go and had put their tickets up for resale, sometimes for as little as $5. As well as this, a Change.org petition was created demanding full refunds to the show on the grounds that the change from hologram to LED screen was not stated in any official communication. You can hear the fans' frustration in this petition. All Vocaloid fans who bought tickets to the tour spent hundreds of dollars, not only for the tickets, but for hotels and plane flights if they needed to. Everyone's hard-earned money was then thrown away when the first photo was posted of the Vancouver MIKU EXPO show, where it was a giant LED TV in the middle of the stage. We were not informed, or at least clearly told, that it would be a TV and not the signature iconic hologram. People paid to see the MIKU EXPO, not a TV. Brutal. We also demand that for future Miku concerts, the MIKU EXPO team clearly states if there will be a hologram or the LED TV before purchasing tickets. Therefore, we can make our own decisions if we want to see a TV or a hologram. We also demand an explanation as to why they decided to change it without telling us. This petition currently sits at over 7,800 signatures, a little under its goal of 10,000. In the next few days since the show, fans were quick to find out that in the promotional post released by the Wang Theatre in Boston, who held the expo on May 9th, they show a photo of the Europe 2020 Expo with its hologram display and state, for the performance, Miku is limited to a transparent screen in the center of the stage. I like that it's presenting this as an unfortunate situation when what we actually got was worse. I remember that some people online thought that this was the evidence they could use for a kind of false advertising lawsuit, but I don't think this plan of litigation manifested once people understood that not even the venue were aware that the plans had changed and they just went by the information they had about every performance in the past. It doesn't seem like it was their fault that they just didn't know, assumed that it was a hologram like we all did, and needed to promote what was going on. Fans weren't having the experience they wished for, but I think it would be uncontentious to say that some weren't having a great experience at all once you bring into the mix the merch issues. Again, as reported by Kenneth Shepard, many locations in the North American leg of MIKU EXPO heavily understocked their merch. Many people who wished to purchase glow sticks at the event couldn't get one, even if they were queuing for hours beforehand. Remember that glow sticks are one of the most important parts of any Vocaloid concert. Almost everyone who goes wants one. There was this one post of the Portland concert that showed a picture of a box full of glow sticks with a note saying that the quantity was 95, an amount that very much didn't accommodate the thousands that undoubtedly attended the show. If you look at the photo, you can see it says above that number 10 of 27, so that might mean that this was one box of 27, making it out to be far more glow sticks in total for the show. But the person who took the photo believes that to mean 27 boxes of all merch available, including VIP souvenirs, not just glow sticks. Ultimately, we don't know how many glow sticks were available in Portland, but we do know that a lot of people who wanted one at that show, as well as others, weren't able to get one, as well as a lot of other merch that was stated to be available. This would be a persistent issue, and not just at the venues themselves. Anyone who was forward-thinking or didn't want to queue for hours for their merch were able to pre-order their merch online, but even this was suffering from stock issues. Pre-orders for the North American leg started on March 9th, about a month before the show started, and people were complaining about glow sticks running out of stock that same day, as well as a lot of t-shirts and pins. A restock did happen on the 12th, but again, those flew off the online shelves in under a day too. Merch running out of stock quickly is to be expected for concert exclusives, but it seems the organisers severely underestimated how much merch they needed to produce for the whole North American leg of the expo. Or they ran into some kind of logistical issue? I'm led to believe that it was the latter, based on what happened later on in the tour. We'll get to that later. So, to recap, a concert that is famous for its hologram performance and everyone waving glow sticks in time to the songs didn't have a hologram, and a ton of people weren't able to get glow sticks. Not a great look, and despite fans' constant requests for some kind of information from the organisers, commenting on all of their Twitter posts, atting them or emailing them, asking if their dissatisfaction was known and if something would change, they did not say a word. That is, until that Kotaku article. A few days after that article was released, Krypton Future Media responded to Kotaku's request for a comment, and here's what they had to say. To celebrate MIKU Expo's 10th anniversary, fans across North America and Europe can continue to expect the same high-energy concert experience featuring the LED screen technology that fans have enjoyed across other MIKU-related events. It was official. That LED screen was staying for all of the expo. Or most of it. I'm not sure why New Zealand and Australia leg weren't mentioned there. Maybe they were gonna get a giant holographic display. Spoiler, they didn't. So, I'm not gonna go through every stop of the tour and talk about what happened. This video will get very long and very boring. More long and more boring than it is already. I was going to talk about some drama that happened, such as the flower arrangement, the fan merch incident, also the car accident. Yeah, that happened. But like I said before, this video is far too long already. If you want to hear me talk more about MIKU Expo 2024, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to put together enough info that I can about those topics, and I'll put that in a follow-up video. However, I will add for this video, because it's a bit more relevant, that on the second performance at Phoenix, the LED screen broke. During the Kagamine's performance of Childish War, a small section of screen broke and displayed a square of pink at about the hip height of the characters. It's very noticeable, and it carried on for at least a few songs before it was fixed. As you can imagine, this did not help the opinion regarding the screen whatsoever. The last performance of the North American leg of MIKU Expo 2024 was on May 22nd at Mexico City at the Pepsi Center. After that, it would take a 6-month break before starting again, this time in Europe, starting in London on the 26th of October. This is where I come in. Okay, history lesson over. We're putting down the tweets and the Reddit threads. We're going to pick them up again soon, but for now, I'm going to talk about my own experience going to MIKU Expo 2024 in London. Think of this part as a commentated vlog, as I'll talk about everything on the lead up to the event, as well as everything that happened, the things that went well, and, well, you'll see. So, as I said earlier, general tickets for the European leg of the expo went on sale the day after the first concert in Vancouver. My Twitter feed on the lead up to the general ticket sale was filled with fans in shock about the quality of the concert the night before, and the official announcement of ticket sales, as you might expect, was filled with comments saying things like, "I want a refund if it's not a hologram," or just asking the official MIKU Expo account, "Is it going to be a screen or a hologram?" to no reply. So, not a great setting for me to give them £100 plus accommodation. I found the DMs my partner and I were having about the realization that the show might suck, as well as the tickets being on sale in less than 2 hours after that. We were super hesitant to get the tickets, but ultimately figured that it would be more of a disappointment if we didn't go. So, go we did. We bought 2 standing tickets. We usually go for the seated tickets, but confession, I've never been to a stadium concert before. Hatsune Miku was my first one. So, for the novelty and the entertainment,
I finna be in the pit.
I'm really not going to say that, am I? Tickets were £60 each, and in total, plus the other fees they put on top of that, came to £140, about similar to the ticket cost in London 2020. After we got the tickets, we told ourselves that maybe it was a technical malfunction or a venue issue that was the reason why Vancouver had a screen, and ours would be different. Poor naive souls. Pre-orders for the merch started on August 13th, where we pre-ordered 2 glow sticks, knowing how small the stock of them was for the North American tour. Each glow stick cost £35, not including tax, and in total plus delivery was £75. Again, similar to 2020. All pre-ordered merch was supposed to start shipping on the 10th of October, kind of close to when the show starts, but even with a week-long delivery, it should be with us in time. Well, the 10th came and went, and I didn't get an email about them being shipped. The next day, the official MIKU EXPO Twitter posted this. While we have announced that the shipment for goods ordered during the pre-sale is on October 10th, 2024, due to unforeseen circumstances, the shipment has been delayed. Great. So it could potentially have arrived after the concert, essentially ruining the reason we bought glow sticks in the first place. I'm genuinely unsure why they needed to wait until the last moment until shipping merch. Perhaps they needed to sort out logistics, but it meant that everyone who had pre-ordered merch was left in the dark and unsure if they had wasted their money. Again, thankfully, a few days later on the 15th, I received an email from the store with the new updated shipping date of the 21st, and a promise that they would let me know if that changed for any reason. But the concert was on the 26th, giving them 5 days to get it to me. We genuinely did not know if our glow sticks were going to arrive in time, making this needlessly stressful. The day after I was told it would ship on the 21st, the order was shipped out. 4 days before I was told it would, which technically means they did tell me that the ship date changed, but still didn't help the uncertainty. And on the 18th, our glow sticks arrived. Yay! We had plenty of time to check that they worked and bring them with us to London, but I know a lot of people who did not receive their orders on time. This was probably fine if it was a t-shirt or a poster, but if they were like us and failed to receive a glow stick, the thing you use at the concert, it essentially means they wasted their money. I'm unsure if the people who didn't receive their glow sticks in time got a refund if they requested one, so if you're one of those people, do let me know if they actually fulfilled that. But anyway, we got our glow sticks. I took the batteries out, these do nothing. Something major that we learned after the concert that I wanted to mention now is that the glow sticks for MIKU EXPO 2020 are larger than the glow sticks for MIKU EXPO 2024. It's true. Google MIKU inflation now. Jokes aside, it is true. The shiny plastic parts at the bottom and the glow part itself are shorter, meaning the glow stick itself is slightly smaller than the one before, despite being the same mold and electronics. From what we can tell, it might be brighter and more colourful too, which is either because of a different diffuser and filter in the stick, or because the dimmer one is 4 years old. We would have to take it apart to find out, and I really don't want to do that. So, 25th of October, the day before the big day, we take the train up to London, and on our connection, we stop to pay respects to the wall mural of Spampton that's inside the station. He is actually real, he's meant to be there, and if you live near the wall mural of Spampton, please go and say hi to him once in a while. He needs love. Anyway, when we get to London, the first thing we do is go to the Forbidden Planet store. If you don't know, Forbidden Planet is a nerd store in the UK full of merch, comics, books, and manga. We usually make our way there when we get to London as one of those things that we always do, but this time it was also because we wanted to see the MIKU EXPO pop-up shop. And by pop-up shop, I mean a small section of wall on the ground floor next to the fire exit. I mean, I wasn't expecting a giant store with signage and its own till. If you know or have ever been to the Forbidden Planet in London, you know it's very small and it's hard to move around in there even in a quiet time. But it was kind of silly that it was advertised as a pop-up shop and it was just a bit of wall. Not even the whole one. The selection of merch they had there wasn't anything crazy either. They had blind bag figures, though they're ones I can buy from almost any general store near me. Look, I have 2 that I bought from a department store that's literally 5 minutes down the road from me. They're really ugly. I don't like looking at them. There were Halloween can badges, the Project Sekai tip and pop figure, Miku head bags, not the eater ones with the open mouth, but the ones with her face, I saw a lot of those at the event, so I guess they got them from here. We didn't get anything at the pop-up shop, partially due to the price, but also because nothing really appealed to us. Although the remint pin and the rement Rin and Len Little Room blind box. Why the f did I write that? Dear Lord. Although the rement Rin and Len Little Room blind box were tempting. Oh my god, I finally said it. The pop-up shop was exactly as we expected it to be, but the images I found of it, as well as the little video I took, make it look far more pathetic than it was, in part due to a lot of the stock being bought up fast, so all you can see is the blank wall. Not a complete disappointment, but it didn't really push the needle away from our apprehension for the concert the next day. Speaking of the next day, we dressed for the occasion. Well, okay, we didn't wear any Miku merch. I don't really own many, and the ones I do, you saw from earlier, the knockoff jacket. Instead, I wore my Sunday best, which, in my case, means that I look like a double denim gay from the 90s. I think I look cool. At about 10 AM, we learned that the merch line would start at 1 PM. Even though we had glow sticks, we still wanted to go to the merch booth so that we could get some badges or some acrylic figures. So we set off to arrive at Wembley Arena at 12 PM. An hour early made sense to us, as we thought that it would be a majority of the queue. Also, we knew what the merch stock issues were like in the NA leg. When we got to the venue, we found the merch booth was a small metal hut-like thing outside the front of the arena. The queue for merch was long already, but manageable. You can draw your own conclusions from the footage here, but it was about 100 people already ahead of us. It's a smart idea. Get in queue earlier so that you can grab what you want now, go get some food, and do some other things before the arena doors open. Or instead, you just queue for the actual event super early. Some people were queuing for the event already at that time, including a Len cosplayer. If I had to describe the atmosphere being surrounded by people going to MIKU EXPO, I would describe it as tense excitement. Everyone was expecting to have a great time at the concert, an incredible one even, but nobody we were queuing with was oblivious to the issues the expo had had a few months ago. Or at least it felt that way. Remember that we were the first concert of the European leg of the tour. 5 months had passed since the North American leg ended, and we didn't know what had changed, if anything. For all we knew, Krypton Media was able to actually set up a hologram, though I don't think anyone actually believed that. Fandom and nerd culture has historically been very critical about the things we pay money for, and there was no difference here. But is that a bad thing? We are paying money for it, and everyone there had spent a lot of money already, were willing to spend even more money as they waited for the merch booth to open, and so any snag in the experience, I believe, was justifiably met with frustration and anger. But then again, I was also in the queue with them. A queue that was rapidly getting longer after we joined. Queuing was uneventful, but it went by quickly as we soaked in the atmosphere. It was fun seeing the merch that people had of prior expos and events, other people's eater bags full of badges, acrylics, and figures, and the amazing cosplays a lot of people came in. Someone was clutching their Miku ball-jointed doll, which I'm really jealous of, but also if that was me, I wouldn't take them anywhere near the concert. I would be terrified of losing her. I would not take her into the pit. Anyway, 1 PM came, time for the merch booth to open. And then 1 PM went, and it wasn't. No biggie, these things are rarely on time, not a problem. Quarter of an hour passed. Then half an hour. People in the queue started to grumble. I overheard that the people at the front started queuing a long while before we did, so they had been waiting for some time already. The MIKU EXPO Twitter was doing its trademark silence, irregardless of the comments some of the queue made. It was clear at this point that this new leg of the expo was going to inherit some of the logistical issues of the time before. About 45 minutes after it was meant to start, the merch stall finally opened.
Let's go!
The queue can now start to move. At least the weather was nice, unlike New Zealand. So, If you haven't been to a concert or haven't been to a merch booth at a concert, I would like to tell you the information that these things move fast. There's a lot of people that want merch and get onto the actual queue so they can get to their seats quickly, or so they don't end up watching the show at the back of the pit. In any case, you have a lot of people who have been waiting for a while, they know what they want, and they are eager to get it and get into the main event now. Speed is expected at a merch booth. Got it? So, imagine our surprise when the booth opened and we could see people buying merch, but the queue did not move. And it didn't move for another 10 minutes, where we then shuffled about 2 meters forward and then waited for another 10 minutes, sometimes up to 20 minutes. That isn't normal, at least in my experience. At that point in the queue, I couldn't see the booth very well to see what was happening, but once I finally inched towards the turn and could see where the sales were happening, all was made clear to me. The main sale of the merch booth was glow sticks. That makes sense. When you go to a MIKU concert, you want a glow stick. When the glow sticks were delivered to us when we pre-ordered them, they did not come with batteries. We had to buy them ourselves, and that also seemed to be the case when the boxes full of glow sticks were sent to the merch booth. But MIKU Expo historically, and I think this is the case for any concert involving electronic glow sticks, provide anyone who buys a glow stick at the venue to have batteries either pre-installed or given to them, so you don't end up trying to find batteries near the venue or having to bring your own. Now, in 2020, or at least in the London concert, if you brought a glow stick at the venue, they would hand you the glow stick and a pack of 3 batteries and you put them in yourself. But not this time. Either due to health or safety rules, or they didn't have packs of 3 batteries, or because it counts as reselling batteries, I have no idea. But if you went to the merch booth at the Wembley Arena MIKU Expo 2024 concert and asked for a glow stick, the person behind the counter would take a glow stick from the box, open up the wrapping and get it out, get 3 AAA batteries from another box, open up the back of the glow stick, put the 3 batteries into the glow stick, close the back of the glow stick, put it back in its wrapper, seal it up, hand it to the customer, and then ask them if they wanted anything else. Almost everyone who was in the merch queue wanted a glow stick, so they did this for almost every single person. If that sounds tedious and slow, it's because it was. It took ages. I heard there were other merch items the people behind the counter had to manage as well, like they had to roll up and pack posters individually because they came to them in a box open and unrolled, though I didn't see that happen personally. I want to stress now that this most definitely isn't the fault of the people working the merch booth, neither the delay to it starting nor the time it took to handle each customer. They were doing their best in that moment, and they handled it all with a smile. There's no point being frustrated at them. After the show, I learned from other attendees that a merch booth was opened up inside the venue, along with the VIP merch, so a lot of people beat the outside queue by going to that one instead. Maybe it was only a VIP thing, which my partner and I weren't? I don't know, that's just something I learned afterwards. Everyone in the queue was aware and unhappy with how slow they were moving. We talked to a mother and daughter in front of us, and the mother had to call her husband to reschedule plans for that day, as they did not expect this to take as long as it did. To help speed up the turnaround, many in the queue were downloading the photo of the merch that was in the booth and drawing circles around what they wanted so they could show the people working the booth what they wanted instead of explaining it, especially if the person serving them isn't into Vocaloid themselves and doesn't know who Megarine Luca is. So ultimately, by the time we arrived at the merch stall, ordered our items and got out, it was 4:15. We had been queuing for over 4 hours. I'm jumping ahead in time for a second, I'll go back soon, but I wanted to give you an idea of how big and how slow this merch queue was. 2 hours after we got merch, when we were ready to get into the arena, we could look out over the merch line, and it was still over twice the size of when we joined it 6 hours before. I didn't see what happened to it once we went inside. I assume it closed before the show started and those people never got their merch. Or they went inside to get it instead. Merch now aside, when we joined queue 2.0, also known as the actual concert queue, at about 4:30, we also ate our lunch that we brought in the morning. I highly recommend getting food to go just so you can eat in the queue, in case there's another MIKU Expo coming in the future and you're thinking of going. Some people bought takeout that was delivered to them directly in the queue, which was funny. We just got a meal deal from the supermarket. This queue was uneventful, but we were able to get some fan-made merch from other people queuing. We didn't have anything to trade with them, something that we want to change in future expos, so it was really kind of them to give us some stickers. They are. We got 2 of them. Thank you. Whoever gave these to us, thank you ever so much. We want to make merch as well for if there's any other future MIKU Expos. We want to make something to give back. These are really cute. Also, it was in this queue that I remembered to paint my MIKU. Yeah, remember that from MIKU Expo 2018? Well, that makes a comeback for this year, but now it's gone digital. That's right. Following the theme of replacing things with a screen, instead of handling a table, a set of paints, and a bunch of blank MIKU figures, fans can now paint their MIKU on a website on their phone and take an AR photo of them at the venue. Yeah, a definite downgrade. I'm not sure when they started doing this, but I kind of understand why. MIKU Expo is less of an expo now, it's more of a tour, so cutting the painting area seems understandable. It's a definite shame. I would have loved a custom souvenir from the event. It is a signature element from the expo's history though, so I am at least glad it did exist, despite being in digital form only. Or at least that's what I would say, if it worked. Yeah, I tried using the website like the official Twitter recommended, but for some reason it wouldn't load at all. I don't know if it was because the data reception in the area was bad or if the website was broken, but it just either wouldn't open or it would give me an error, even when I could load other websites fine. After about 2 hours, we were finally let in and we found a spot to stand. It was about this point when we realized we should have gotten seats, because although we might have been further back and on an angle, we would have been able to rest our legs, which we had now been standing on for over 6 hours. Something to learn for next time. Now that we were finally in and everyone had their glow sticks, the energy in the arena was starting to pick up quick before the show even started. I have so much footage of people cheering along to the background music, doing Project Sekai gacha pulls, and let us not forget our dear friend, Len on a stick. Has he been hung on the stick as a messiah, or as a devious little criminal? Irregardless, the things I would do for Len on a stick are innumerable. I should mention at this point, if the footage is showing any, that there was a major change in the Europe and New Zealand and Australia legs of the expo regarding glow sticks. It used to be, for both the North American leg and prior MIKU Expos, that you could only bring into the venue official MIKU Expo glow sticks, as anything else would interfere with the performance, and I assume it would be confiscated or you wouldn't be allowed in. This rule is unofficially explained as something to do with the hologram tech. If you bring in a super bright or strobing glow stick, it would badly affect the projection or something. But a lot of people believe it to be for the comfort of the people attending. I personally would not like to have someone waving a blinding strobe next to my face, and I don't even have any health conditions that would make it dangerous. But also many agree it's enforced because it benefits sales of official glow sticks. If those are the only ones allowed, better pick them up at the merch booth, right? However, as North America showed, there wasn't a hologram to be interfered with. It was just a TV. And so, on the official website, as well as the pre-show announcement, that rule was changed so that you could bring any glow stick into the venue, as long as it wasn't too bright, too large, or strobed. A welcome change. I think it's not really fair to force people to spend £35 or more on an official glow stick for the sake of not disrupting technology that isn't actually being used. Alright, finally, the main show started. Sounds kind of anticlimactic after all the drama of queuing and merch. But this was the thing everyone was waiting for. The moment we had waited a year to see. At this point, the excitement in the room was peak. I think at this point they could have wheeled out a big TV and blasted out old MMD animations to us for 3 hours, and it would have been the closest anyone in that room would have gotten to touching God. But they didn't, thankfully. Well, we did still have the big TV. Yeah, we all saw that coming. I mean, The LED screen was huge. I didn't realize from pictures how large it actually was, and from the distance we were standing, maybe about 50 meters back, it looked very clear. It didn't break at any point during the show, thankfully, unlike the show in Phoenix, and the organizers had made the edges of the screen blend into the background a lot better, at least comparing from photos. And you never really saw its edges during the show. It does end up kinda looking like a hologram, but if the stage behind them was always black, which, to be fair, it often is to help with clarity. Ultimately, I ended up not having a big problem with the big TV. I know, scandalous. Of course, I would have had a better time if it was a hologram. They are a major staple of a MIKU concert, and taking it away removes a major part of the appeal of seeing a Vocaloid concert. But it didn't actively hinder my enjoyment either. I can totally understand if it did hinder someone's experience though. It's a big setback from MIKU Expos of the past. So, what was different between the European leg of MIKU Expo compared to the North American one? I feel like a lot more people, not everyone, considered Europeans' song lineup to be a little more iconic. Though, can that really be true if North America had World Is Mine and we didn't? I was super upset that we got snubbed on that one, but we had Melt, so... Something I wanted to mention now is the comments I was seeing a lot online about the amount of parents or other related guardians to the younger attendees of the concert. Naturally, a lot of Vocaloid fans are under 18 and need to be accompanied by an adult to the concert. And as you can expect, a lot of these adults have no clue whatsoever what the hell is going on. A lot of bewildered faces were in that pit along with us, and some were on their phones, especially at the encore, trying to organize their journey back. I think some people believe that they shouldn't be there, or that maybe their ticket would have been better for a fan who would enjoy being there more than they are. Whatever the reason is, I want to share my opinion now that the parents or guardians of concert attendees are very much welcome and are actually required, as in the UK, children at a concert need to be accompanied by an adult at all times. Just because they're not into the concert as much as their kids are, they're not waving their glow sticks along with them, doesn't mean they're not any less welcome to a concert. And the idea of an arena filled with children and adults where none of the children have any supervision just because it makes the vibes better, it's terrifying. Side note over. Now that the show was in full swing, I don't think anyone's anxiety was there anymore. Everyone was through the roof the whole time. So, after 21 songs and 2 encores, the concert was over. We went back to our hotel and chatted to some other attendees on the way. In the morning, we took the train back home, not forgetting to pay further respects to the Spamton mural at the train station. Really, it gets lonely. I forgot I left this in the script. I also took the opportunity to pick up the Beetlejuice green Fanta at the station. My partner and I wanted to see what it tasted like as it was late coming to the UK, so we tried it then. Turns out, it not only looks like boiled piss, but it tastes like what I think boiled piss tastes like too. Who'd have thought? So, that was our experience of MIKU Expo 2024. Ultimately, I think that everyone who is aware of MIKU Expo 2024, either as an attendee or as someone who was hearing about it as it occurred, internalized a kind of folklore that it was incredibly disappointing due to the shock and anger of the people who attended during the North American leg. The disappointing setup of the show, the merch issues, the fact that some of them were almost involved in a car accident. Sorry, I wasn't able to put that in the video, I just ran out of time, but yeah, that happened. All of those factors ingrained into us the anxiety that the show that we were all about to watch had a strong potential to be catastrophic. How bad could it possibly be? And when we were there and the pop-up shop was tiny and the merch was late and slow, this manifested that anxiety, at least in part, because we could see now that if this part of the experience is messing up, what's going to happen when it starts? How bad could it possibly be? But when the lights dimmed and the show started with Miku by Anna Managuchi, a song I don't like, but I was having so much fun waving my glow stick and cheering, and everyone else was too, it didn't matter. After a disappointing start, we were treated to a performance that didn't fall apart, that went from start to finish with no issues and played some really great songs. It was a brilliant performance, and at least to me, that was a really fun time. A really amazing time, in fact. And that anxiety went away. Especially when you consider Len on a stick. That guy really brought the thing together. The rest of the European leg of the expo went off pretty much the same as my time in London. A lot of people didn't receive the merch they pre-ordered in time for the concert, which was disappointing to a lot of people who pre-ordered glow sticks, only to have them arrive at their home either after the show or close enough to it that they had already traveled. Not great at all. But the performance was the same, the setlist was similar with some minor changes. Paris and Berlin had Miku Fiesta, which I'm still not okay with. I'm not okay. I generally saw a far more positive reception online for this leg compared to North America. I'm thinking that's in part due to the fact that we already knew it was going to be a stripped back version of prior expos, as well as there didn't seem to be major issues such as on-site stock problems, the long-ass queue notwithstanding. Hopefully not too long after I upload this, the New Zealand and Australia leg has wrapped up. The setlist for this leg was similar to Europe, but the two additions that I really wish we had in the European leg were World Is Mine and Luka Luka Night Fever. Safe to say, I'm seething with jealousy. Again, it seemed to go over really smoothly with little issue. I didn't hear any complaints. The weather in Auckland could have been nicer though. The rain on that merch queue looks rough. As far as I know, everyone had an amazing time. I heard no one talk about the LED screen. But why was it an LED screen instead of a hologram? Well, we don't know, at least currently, but we can make a couple of guesses as to why. We know that hologram setups for concerts are expensive. Okay, we don't, because we don't know the exact setup they use for prior concerts, but simply considering the parts responsible for a simple Pepper's Ghost effect, a clear screen and a bright display or projector scaled up to an arena-sized stage, that must cost a lot. And we also know that MIKU EXPO 2024 moved around a lot. The North American leg of the expo did 21 shows in 48 days, usually with 1 or 2 days between each performance. Compare that to the North American leg of 2018 with its way smaller 7 shows over 21 days, with usually 3 to 5 days in between each show. The 2024 Expo crew needed to move around a lot and set up and take down the stage as fast as they could. It makes sense to me that setting up a clear sheet, aligning a projector, and syncing up everything takes a lot more time than wheeling on a big screen, turning it on, and making sure it works. Assuming, of course, that's how it works, which probably doesn't. My theatre kid days were never in tech, I kinda sucked at that bit. On the 26th of November 2024, the last performance of MIKU EXPO concluded in Perth, the end of a multi-leg tour that lasted nearly 8 months. Not gonna lie, it was sad to see it end. Not being able to see online everyone queuing and celebrating when the expo came to their part of the world. As of writing, there has not been an announcement as to whether next year will bring us a new expo. If they do, historically, it may be a small one in one country, but no sign as of yet. And that was MIKU EXPO 2024. Was it an absolute flop and a disappointment? Well... Although the shock of the cutbacks to the expo as a whole really brought a lot of scrutiny and apprehension, like I said in my own experience with the show, almost everyone did leave the venue happy that they went, really satisfied even. I find it interesting that once the expo made its way into the home stretch in New Zealand and Australia, there was very little apprehension. Perhaps a lot of that is due to the fact that we hadn't been able to see Miku in concert for 4 years, 6 years, some countries never at all, and the excitement of seeing her and friends perform, however it's presented, is enough. MIKU Expo 2024 had 32 concerts, that is 13 less than all other MIKU Expo tours from its beginning in 2024 combined. And honestly, I think their ability to bring the show to so many new cities and countries was worth it, but that was bound to create some cutbacks. The new management and cuts to the performance may have been expected, but that wasn't the reason fans were upset. The delays and lack of communication were. If fans were warned beforehand that things would be different, that a screen will be used instead of a traditional hologram, I think that fans would have been more welcoming and more satisfied with the show because everyone in Europe and New Zealand and Australia were warned beforehand, and so many of us had a much better time. My hope for the future of MIKU Expo, of course, is that they can find a way to bring back the hologram, but more importantly, that they can be more transparent with the community, the people that are paying to see their shows. Issues are to be expected in a massively complicated show like MIKU Expo, but in every instance this year, it was better when people were made aware that their experience would be impacted than when they were surprised on the night. When it comes to Miku, or Vocaloid in general, the community is the most important part. Going to London really showed me that. The fact that I was having fun even though I was 4 hours deep into a 7-hour queue, surrounded by other fans playing Colourful Stage and Project Diva, singing along to songs and sharing their self-made merch, makes me more than happy to do it all over again. And I hope I do! Though if the queue could be a little shorter, that would make me happy too. If you're watching this video and have never gone to a Miku concert before, I want to assure you that if you go in the future but are worried about going alone, you'll have an amazing time simply being surrounded by fans who are just as passionate as you are. Or I assume that you are, being that you've watched me prattle on about a virtual singer for a very long time now. So, thank you ever so much for watching this video about MIKU Expo 2024. Did you go to MIKU Expo in 2024? If so, how did it go? I would love to hear your experience down in the comments. Or if there's something that you were aware of that I've missed, please do let me know. If I get enough stories or new things to talk about, I definitely want to make a follow-up video to this one, just talking about everything that went down. There was a lot that I wasn't able to find just because Twitter search is terrible. Like, there was a whole bunch of drama that occurred in North America that I was trying really hard to find, but I just couldn't find any sources of them, so any help would be appreciated. And of course, I really want to talk about my thoughts about the set list. I had a big long rant about all the things that I liked and didn't like about every set list from all of the shows that I just couldn't put in this video, so subscribe so you can see my follow-up that I will probably make. And yeah, thank you ever so much for watching my longest video to date. Writing and making this video has been so much fun, and I definitely want to keep it up. Not only talking about Vocaloid, but also other things that I'm passionate about. Mainly fandom-y subjects. If you're a fan of visual novels, I have a lot of plans to talk about visual novels in the future. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind giving this video a like and subscribing, that really helps my motivation to make more. I know that it's something people want to see, and yeah, that'll really drive me to make some more. Until then, thank you ever so much for watching, and see you next time.